Hey guys, Seth Fuller, your favorite lawyer here with part 2 of the How Not to Defend Yourself series, aka the Ronnie O'Neals trial. I'm going to give you a warning right now. There's going to be very graphic testimony in this video and nothing gory, but as far as pictures or anything, but testimony is going to be very graphic and heart-wrenching. So don't watch it if you're young or if you have a sensitive constitution. It is a real life situation and it is a terrible one, and the things you will hear you cannot unhear. That being said, Ronnie O'Neals is accused of murdering his wife, 9-year-old autistic daughter, and then stabbing his son and trying to burn their bodies. It's a grisly set of events. His defense seems to be, and has been until this trial, his adamant defense, which is Kenyatta, the fiance that he killed, the girlfriend that he killed, was attacking his children, and he was defending them. I did his opening statements and talked about the issues I had with that. Today we're gonna yesterday the first offenders responded, and they kind of had everybody who answered to the scene, and that was pretty bad. But there was nothing I saw that really to talk about like what Reggie did wrong or right. There's really not much you could say. They were just responding to the facts. This testimony I'm going over today is about his son. So his son, who he is accused of stabbing, is going to testify today, and then he is going to cross-examine him, and I'm going to cover both of those things. So you just the direct testimony so you get an idea, and then the cross-examination as to, again, what not to do, why you need to hire a defense attorney, and what nobody should do in a murder defense. So I'm going to go over the video. Again, it's heart-wrenching. You're not going to have any jokes in this, but I think it's important if you're interested in criminal law and trials and stuff, for me to kind of break this down and show you what I, as a defense attorney, is looking at, and maybe what I would do in trying to defend someone like this, because everyone deserves a good defense. It's the only way our system works. Unfortunately, letting idiots like this guy defend himself, the system doesn't work very well, or maybe it does. You decide. Okay guys, first we're going to look at a direct examination of Ronnie's son. The direct examination is when the person who called the witness questions them first. In this case, the prosecutor is calling Ronnie's son, who is an eyewitness to this whole event. The background is blurred, as you can see, for that juvenile's protection. Also, when you hear the beeps, those aren't bad words. Those are the juvenile's name or the name of his adopted family. Again, the family who adopted him is one of the investigators on the case, which makes an interesting twist to this. So here is the prosecutor's questioning Ronnie's son and his testimony.
Do you know what we're here to talk about today?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember the night when something bad happened to your mother and your sister?
Yes.
And was that about 3 years ago?
Yes. Basically, I was sitting in my room and I saw my mom and my dad arguing in their room. Well, they were just like screaming at each other. Yes, and my mom told me to get back in my room. I just saw my dad holding a shotgun and my mom screaming at him, and they were just like fighting. My mom ran to my sister's room. My mom ran in my sister's room into the closet.
Okay. And when your mother ran into your sister's room, what did your father do? Did he go after her?
Yes.
And did he have the shotgun with him?
Yes.
And did he follow your mother into your sister's room?
Yes. She was autistic. Like, she couldn't talk.
She was not able to talk?
No.
What about walking? Was she able to walk?
Like, she struggled with it, but then she was able to walk again.
Okay. Did she have a wheelchair that she used sometimes too?
Yes.
All right. So what happened after I might have just asked you this, but just to clarify, when your father followed your mother into your sister's room, did he have the shotgun with him?
Yes.
And what did you do after that happened, after your father followed your mother into your sister's bedroom?
Well, I kind of sat in my room, and then my sister was sitting on the bed. And then my dad told me to walk around and say, Allah Akbar. And then my dad said, come here and come kill the B word. And then I went in the room, and then he handed me the shotgun and helped me shoot it.
I don't think it's necessary to say anything about that, but right now we're all feeling the same way as that jury is. That's it.
Was there a time when your mother was able to get out of the closet?
Yes, I was standing right by our house phone, and I just saw her, she was stumbling outside, and then I just saw my dad chase her.
What happened when your father came back to the house?
He went into he went in the garage.
Did he do something to your sister?
Yes, he hit her with an axe in the head, and then in the back, and the back, and then the head. And then I saw her eyes roll, and then there was blood everywhere.
So I'm going to stop right there. It goes on like that. You can imagine the rest. It's not good. There's no reason to dwell on it. The jury's hearing all the gory details. And Ronnie O'Neal, the accused perpetrator, is right now in the jury's mind on death row. I mean, there's nothing that could be worse. I can't, there's no testimony that can really. It's believable, it's graphic, it's detailed, it's terrible, clear. So, and I understand it's taken a macabre turn, and I'm sorry for that, but this is what we do. This is what defense attorneys and prosecutors and everybody in the criminal justice system, this is what we do. This is what we deal with on a daily or weekly basis. And so this is it. So I'm going to skip to the cross-examination, because kind of this is like a kind of a why not to be your own attorney, and if it isn't obvious already, let's see how Mr. O'Neal handles this cross-examination.
Good.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
So I think this is an important moment. I think this is something we can't forget. As horrific, as terrible as an incident that it seems his father put him through, this son almost certainly still loves his father. That's going to be an issue for the rest of his life. And in a weird way, I'm sure this father still loves his son.
Do you remember doing an interview with Detective Dirks?
Yes. I'm sorry, say that again?
Did you guys go to a Bucks game together?
Yes.
Did you guys talk about anything that happened that night?
No.
No? At any time, did he talk to you about those things and tell you what to say here today?
No.
What about your new dad, Richard?
No.
All right. Did you see me beat your mom?
No.
So this is a key moment. The only way that you're going to get past that devastating testimony that just occurred on direct examination is to make the jury doubt that it happened, to say that those crazy things that he just said were put in his head by other people. Now, we talked about in the last episode a very interesting thing, which is this young man has already been adopted by a detective in this case, who's apparently took him in and actually adopted him. So he's been adopted, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. But now Ronnie has to take advantage of how crazy that is by showing that this adoption is part of the reason why what he is trying to say is false testimony or flawed testimony was given, and that this young man didn't see what he clearly has seen. So far, that's not going well. He says he didn't talk to him. Let's see if he pursues it further.
You replied to Jennifer Miller's question. She asked you who was getting the shooting, and you said your mom. And she said, okay, did you see it? And you said, I heard it and saw it. Do you remember saying that to her?
No, I did not.
But you did hear a shot that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you heard that shot, where were you at that time?
Standing by the houseboat.
Can you hear me fine?
You said where she was shot?
Yes, sir. Do you know where your mom was shot at?
No.
That you told Detective Dirks during your interview with him? He asked you, where did your mom get shot? And you said, in the stomach.
No, I do not.
This is just more of what he did in the opening statement, which is kind of like what his idea of a defense attorney does, and what we do in some cases, which is pick apart the little things. All we have to do is provide reasonable doubt so we can poke holes in the story. We don't have to come up with a whole nother story in a lot of cases, because we could just poke holes in the inconsistencies that provides a doubt in the juror's mind. However, having said all that, there are cases where this won't work. This is one of them. It doesn't matter whether he remembers actually saw the shot, whether he remembers where the mom was shot, whether you see it. It was a traumatic experience and his memory is going to change and fade. And B, he testified to very specific things, which is his dad loaded the shotgun and then at one point made him almost kill his own mother, and then essentially chased his mother out of the house to kill her. These are things that this little detail that he's concentrating on obviously don't matter. He is just playing a defense attorney on TV essentially, and he doesn't understand why we do the certain things that we do in certain cases, which is of course why you always get a defense attorney instead of doing it yourself.
Now, you said just a while ago that you did not see me shoot your mom or beat your mom. Is that correct?
Yes.
But he did see you axe murder his autistic little sister in the head. So, of course, this line of questioning is absolutely ridiculous. And again, his head is in the hangman's noose already at this point. Any chance he had of coming out is quickly fading as fast as his life expectancy is.
Did I hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
I did. And how did I hurt you?
You stabbed me.
And there it is. The soundbite for every major news network. And the last nail in Ronnie O'Neal's coffin. Unless he pulls out a miracle here, that's it. You cannot ask questions that you don't know the answer to. That is the number one rule of lawyering. an examination of somebody. Never ask a question you don't know the answer of, because your 11-year-old son might say to you in front of the jury, yes, you stabbed me.
Do you remember telling Detective Dirks after he asked, did your dad hurt you the night that he hurt your sister? And you said, no, he didn't hurt me. Do you remember that?
No.
Now that's an interesting one. Again, a slight point to Mr. O'Neal. However, that entire jury has already heard enough. And this, again, minute detail, does it undermine his entire testimony? I don't think so. Again, picking apart whether or not you stabbed him is not going to matter. The first thing you should have put into that juror's mind is that you did not axe murder your daughter. So you need to start attacking him on that. I could kind of see it if you're just picking this apart. Let's see where it goes, but it's just not enough to approach your son about some slight inconsistencies, or maybe even major inconsistencies. But the question you then have to answer, if you're saying that you're not the one who stabbed him, is you have to start putting it on the mom. And you have to do that through this cross-examination. Even if you have to get tough with him, the testimony he's given so far on direct is so bad that you are going to need to immediately get the jury thinking that he was coerced into this, or that he is completely misremembering, and that it was actually the mother who stabbed him.
You said was your sister hurt before or after the closet shooting? You said she was hurt before the closet shooting. Do you remember that?
No.
And do you remember telling Detective Dirks on page 19 of 23, March 26, 2018, he said, he asked you the same question. Was your sister hurt before your mom runs outside or after? And you said, after hurting his sister. No, here it is. You said, after hurting your sister, then I hurt your mom and ran outside. Do you remember that?
No.
So this is a decent line of questioning, trying to show the inconsistencies on when the sister was killed, because that was probably the most powerful testimony during the direct examination. So trying to undermine that is a good thing. This is where he should have been from the very beginning. Again, a good experienced attorney would be, but at least he's touching on it now. Let's see if he can flesh that out more and get the jury believing that maybe there was some misrememberings, and he can then follow that up with his own testimony about what really did happen that matches the evidence.
After the shooting with your mom outside,
You coming back inside and you getting my sister and then putting her in my parents' room, and then you hit her with an axe.
now you just said a while ago that I came back in and took your sister from her room to your mom's room and hit her with an axe, right?
Yes.
When asked, where is your sister? Where was your sister when mom and dad ran outside? You replied, she was in my mom's room. I'm sorry, on page 99, you you told them you don't remember when she went from her room to your mom's room. Do you remember making that statement?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. It's very good, this line of questioning, as far as putting doubt in the jury's mind as to the order of events that has happened. Because, again, if your version of events is that the mother, Kenyatta, attacked both of your children and you killed her in self-defense and defense of others, then that's good. You don't. His testimony was obviously devastating, and you want to show that he is misremembering it, maybe because he can't remember that his mother did such horrible things to him. So these picking him apart, your son on these is pretty good, but you have to follow it up with what you, because you were there, and even as a defense attorney, do this. You have to follow it up of what the real versions were happening. So, for instance, when you ask him, do you remember saying to them that you don't remember when your sister was in the room, and you don't remember when your sister was hurt? Yeah, I don't remember. So, isn't it the case that Kenyatta, your mother, brought your sister into the room and attacked her with the axe, and that is just something you can't face? That would be the line of questioning that you would want to proceed with this. You can't just sit there and pick apart these little details and not address the big things, like who actually killed his sister that he says you did. You have to address these right away, and you're doing a terrible job of it. And again, just you're in such a deep hole, but you're not digging yourself out at all.
Do you remember telling my attorneys when they asked you, did you ever see your dad pouring gasoline anywhere in the house? And you replied, no. Do you remember making that statement?
No.
Again, not to go over the same thing or reiterate, but you have to proceed with this, and you have to attack him on this. That was a bad choice of words. You have to confront him on this. You have to show the jury, well, then what happened? You have to show why he is unsure. You have to get down to the why you misremembered. If not, the prosecution is going to, and it's going to be against you. If you could do it now and show that there's a reason that he's lying, that someone else led him, or that he's just reforming the events in his head, all these things are viable defenses, but you have to confront him, or the jury is not going to see what you're trying to do. It's going to look like you're just trying to pick apart your son who you tried to kill.
After she asked, how did you get burned? And you said, I got burned because the fire came to me.
No.
So now you have to go for it and say, well, your mom lit the fire, didn't you? Or the fire was accidental. Well, so I didn't spray the fire. You have to proceed with it and you have to lead the jury by the hand to where you're trying to go after such devastating testimony, and at any point. But to just ask that and then just move on is a devastating mistake.
And she said, she asked you, Jennifer Miller asked you again, she said, how did it come to you? And you said, the fire went to me. And, no, pardon me, that was the line before. She said, how did it come to you? And you said, I don't know. My attorneys asked you, they said, all right. Hold on 1 second. They said, how did you get burned? And you said, I have no idea.
Do you recall making this statement? That's all.
No.
All right, thank you.
All right, very
Have a
good.
one.
We don't need to watch the redirect because, again, the point of that cross-examination would be to get the real story across. If you're going to pick apart what it looks like is probably what happened, which is you played defense attorney, you sat in your little cell, Ronnie, and you decided what little things that he said before in the recounting of the horrific terrible events that happened, you sat in your cell and just picked apart the little inconsistencies. And not once did you even get close to addressing what you are saying really happened. And maybe you're trying to save it for some dramatic thing of what you said happened, but it's not going to work because you need your son's testimony to be disregarded by the jury before they'll even start to believe yours. Okay, so Ronnie O'Neal has failed miserably, as he should, as a non-attorney trying to represent himself in a murder trial. Again, some people are probably like, how did he even do this? The hoops he had to jump through to then represent himself had to be many. And personally, I think the guy is obviously has a mental illness. I'm not using any excuses for that, but he obviously does. But again, this is a good learning lesson for defense attorneys on how to do it. You can't just pick apart a case. Sometimes that works in very select cases, but almost always you then have to show why your version, why your big problem that undermines it, why your reasonable doubt is opposite of what this person is saying and why they should not be believed. So he failed as it stands right now, unless something spectacular happens. The jury thinks that this little boy was almost made to shot his mom, or maybe made to shot his mom. I think that's what they're getting at, that he made him shoot his mom, that he saw his dad kill his mother and axe murder his little sister, and that he spent all day just trying to pick apart the little inconsistencies in this story instead of addressing why the story is totally wrong. And so here's where the jury is left, no matter what the redirect is, and I promise you it's only going to make things worse for Ronnie, but no matter what the redirect is, that is where, in my opinion, that jury stands. And I have a feeling after watching this, that's where you stand too. Leave your comments about what you think happened down here. Thanks for watching. If you did, that's awesome, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll try to keep up on this and give some more updates as it goes along. Probably won't cover necessarily every single day, but I will cover the major things that Ronnie is doing as representing himself to kind of show why you need a defense attorney and what defense attorneys should be doing in these cases. Have a good one, guys. Stay safe.